Hello there, thanks a lot for coming by PosterCentral.com's video blog today. I'm Pete Howard, and today it's this really fun combination poster from the summer of 1967. Two of the biggest folk rock acts of the 1960s at the gigantic Yale Bowl in New Haven, Connecticut. Seemingly, a venue kind of unsuited for such soft rock sounds. But it's the nature of this poster and its very unusual layout that really grabs your attention here. The Murray Poster Printing Company out of New York City printed and probably designed this 14 by 22 inch cardboard window card, with every effort made to present the two acts as co-headliners, but done in somewhat awkward fashion. What you basically had here was a major singles artist versus a major album artist, and you had an act heading straight down at this point paired with an act that was heading straight up and for the moon. So maybe at this particular intersection, this moment in time, they were dead even in popularity, and both went on to happy endings, being elected to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And all of this sponsored by Silly Putty in the yellow bar there. Man, that really makes it surreal. So, taking this baby from the top there, as you can see, New Haven Pops Concerts Inc. presents. And then the left box goes to the Lovin' Spoonful, seemingly giving them a slight edge in headliner status, but then not really, because somebody has to go first, right? I mean, you can't have Simon, Lovin, Garfunkel, Spoonful, that kind of wording. You gotta put somebody first. Now, the Spoonful were just finishing a white-hot streak. All 9 singles they had released up to this moment had gone top 20 on the national pop charts, and the first 7 had gone top 10, including the #1 hit, Summer in the City. I mean, there were 0 duds, no stiffs, released during that streak by the Spoonful. Man, that's quite a record. However, from this moment onwards, the Spoonful would never return to the top 20 again. So they were about to go into, you could say, a bucket of ice water. But at this very moment, August 5 of 1967, the Spoonful had album number 28 on Billboard's charts, while Simon and Garfunkel, their highest album, was number 98. But the Lovin' Spoonful's album was just a collection of their hit singles, whereas Simon and Garfunkel reversed that process, of course, and would record concept albums or whatnot, from which singles were then pulled. So, there's all kinds of ways to, the publicists can spin their artist as being, worthy of top ranking, but let's just call it a dead heat at this point. So you've got the Spoonful pictured on here in sort of, unusual fashion, like an old-fashioned photo booth, right? With that strip of black and white photos. That's odd. And none of the pictures really that good, I might add. But top to bottom, you've got group leader John Sebastian, then guitarist Zal Yanofsky, drummer Joe Butler, and bassist Steve Boone. Well, there's just one problem. Zanofsky had been busted for pot and left the group a few months before, replaced by Jerry Yester. But, that's not really unusual for vintage concert posters to be carrying slightly outdated publicity photos. So then you've got, Simon and Garfunkel, whom, of course, history treats as the far more significant act. This was the third and final show these two acts played together, by the way. The first one was at the Hollywood Bowl. And then next up for Simon and Garfunkel was 1 week after this, playing Forest Hills in New York with the Doors opening for them, Jim Morrison and company. And yes, I have blogged that concert poster separately. So for S&G, this year, 1967, was actually kind of a slow year. They released no albums, and they had just 2 very mild hit singles, or charting singles, At the Zoo and Fakin' It. But boy, would they explode the next year in 1968. Hello. The Graduate soundtrack would be #1 for 2 months, and their Bookends album would also be #1 for 2 months, all in 1968. And of course, I don't have to tell you about Bridge Over Troubled Water in 1970. But what in the world is with this depiction of Simon and Garfunkel? Check that out. You know, the duo is split in half by the Lovin' Spoonful's photo strip. I mean, that's weird enough. But then, look, you've got the word Simon by Garfunkel's face and Garfunkel by Simon's face. Oh man, right? But you know, it's pretty easy to guess how this mistake was probably made. So check this out. This was CBS Records' latest marketing graphic for the pair, and you can, along the bottom there, it says Simon and Garfunkel on Columbia Records, and Garfunkel's on the left. But you know, it's just no big deal. I mean, how often did you see a Crosby, Stills and Nash picture where they're actually in the right order? And a couple of concert posters from the era, take it a step further. Here we've got, you know, Simon and Garfunkel in a big blue headline there across the top of this vintage concert poster. These are photographic representations, of course. And each name is over the other guy's head. But nobody cares. You know, it's detached enough that it's not a graphics faux pas at all. And the same goes for this one, also from 1968, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yeah, check this out. The words are bigger and closer to the guys' heads, but it just doesn't seem the least bit incongruous. But this depiction with their heads separated, no, that will not do at all, I'm sorry. Oh man. Hey, but at least they spelled Garfunkel's name correctly, right? A lot of times you see L-E, but at least they have the correct E-L, so. And then in the blue strip you've got Yale Bull there in New Haven, of course, Connecticut. You know, can you just imagine kicking back and listening to the wonderful sounds of Silence from S&G or Daydream by the Lovin' Spoonful in this place? Holy smokes, that's right. 60 to 70,000 seats in an ancient football stadium. Oh my goodness, right? Well, at least the promoters were nice guys, and they did reduce the seating capacity for concerts to this. More wow, right? Oh man. Well, you know, the Beatles had sold out 55,000-seat Shea Stadium 2 years ago, so maybe the promoters were feeling a bit emboldened, or greedy perhaps. This picture, by the way, was taken at an Eagles concert. So, well, that's the venue. Now back to the poster. And in the rest of that blue stripe, you do have Saturday, August 5th at 8:15 p.m. And then, wow, sponsored by Silly Putty in behalf of the New Haven JCs. Silly Putty for college students? Really? I mean, you know, you remember that when you were a kid? Silly Putty, here's a graphic to remind you. Nothing else is Silly Putty, the real solid liquid. Oh boy, does that bring back memories for baby boomers. Remember, you'd like stick it onto newspaper and peel it up and you'd see all the print in reverse and it wouldn't damage the newspaper? Well, here's exactly what that looked like for all of you youngsters out there. Boy, sponsored by Silly Putty, what a hoot. And then you've got the business details down in the white area at the bottom. I won't read you every word, nothing unusual there. Tickets $5 and $3.50. Phone number for telephone reservations, and a P.O. box given for mail orders. And then the words, check your local newspapers for ticket office locations. And then down in the extreme lower right, the printer's union bug and the Murray poster printing credit. Wow, so what a fun one, huh? What a different one, Silly Putty and all. So, you know, it may be an unusual poster, but when you think about it, these half a dozen gentlemen right there created at least, what, a couple dozen evergreen songs that we're still thoroughly enjoying over half a century later. So, hats off to Simon and Garfunkel and the Lovin' Spoonful. Great fun today, more fun than usual, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot for stopping by. And I'll see you again for something soon. Bye-bye.